Are you thinking about moving to Boise, Idaho, or possibly Salt Lake City? In today's video, we're going to compare the two. If you're new to my channel, my name is Craig Flood. I make videos each week about what it's like to live in the state of Idaho. Additionally, I'm a licensed real estate agent with an amazing team that can help you get relocated to the state, so you can call, text, or email days, nights, or weekends. And in today's video, like I said, we're going to be talking about Salt Lake City versus Boise, Idaho. But let me introduce Mariah. She actually has her own YouTube channel, which is how I found her. And so we're here together at an event in Florida right now. And I said, hey, you got to connect with me. We got to make a video comparing these two cities because I feel like sometimes it can be on the comparison list of people. So
For sure.
Why don't you tell me a little about what got you to Utah? Because I know you didn't grow up there. It was not home originally. Why did you choose it?
Absolutely. Great question. So my family and I, we were actually living in Southern California, both my husband and I, our 4 kids. We lived in San Diego for 15 years. And my husband actually went to grad school out in Utah, out in Salt Lake City. And we had been vacationing back and forth to Utah. And we went, gosh, it's such a beautiful place. Every time we went there, it felt super family friendly. The kids always thought we were on vacation land. And so one day we actually bought an investment property 5 years ago. And when things shut down and during COVID time, we decided to head out to Utah and thought we'd be there a few weeks. And a few weeks turned into 4.5 years now. So we literally packed our bags in San Diego, sold our properties in San Diego, and then headed to Utah. And honestly, we pinch ourselves and we're like, this is the best decision that we could have made for us as a family.
Why? Why has it been so? Why everybody's wondering, like, is it going to be good for me?
Yes.
Why did you do it? Yes. So what are the pros for you? And feel free. I feel like a lot of you guys watching are from California. So like compare and contrast that a bit for me.
Yeah, for sure. So myself, I was born and raised in Northern California. And so for me, the idea of ever really moving outside of California, I traveled a lot, visited a lot of different places, but the idea of actually leaving California and bringing my family somewhere else, the scariest part for me was just honestly the unknown of like, how is the snow? Is it really as snowy as people say? And is it are winters really as cold as I think they're going to be? Are there going to be enough things for the kids to do? What's the lifestyle like? I've heard that maybe people, I don't know how, it's going to be moving into like a new state. For us though, pros have, number one, just been the kids, the education. My kids go to like a charter school. So for them, it's kind of a one-stop shop. The different programs are incredible. So the schools, number one, have been amazing. For us, like I said, I've got 4 kids, so it's very family friendly. The different parks, the recreation, the sports, the activities. I mean, everything's pretty close by too. So instead of like for us in San Diego, if I wanted to get my son to basketball practice, it'd take me a half hour to get there. Not that it was super far away, but the distance, just the commuting, waiting in traffic constantly. In Utah, I feel like takes me 5 minutes to get my kids to practice. Lots of people carpool. It's just, I don't know, for us, it's just been a phenomenal fit. And we're a super active family too. So we love being outdoors. We love hiking. We love, kayaking, canoeing, stuff with the family. So for us, being outdoors, having
Let's talk about that further.
Yeah.
It isn't so. She's selling me on Salt Lake City. I actually don't have much experience with it, though the family and I did just travel down to Zion and St.
George.
Yeah. Right? So we hit that area, which you also make videos on that area.
Love St. George.
So I'll link her channel down below. So if you are thinking about Salt Lake City, then I would just reach out to her, dive deeper on that. So me and my wife went down there, very lovely, but we passed through Salt Lake City for the first time. It's so much bigger than I thought compared to Boise. So if this is the comparison video, let's talk about it. So how would you describe the city of Salt Lake City? And where do people end up? Is it Salt Lake City? What are the suburbs that people land in?
Yeah, good question. So immediate Salt Lake City, there's not a lot in the way of housing options right in downtown Salt Lake. But you go just outside of Salt Lake a little bit, there are so many different suburbs, depending on where you want to be. If you want to be north of Salt Lake, if you want to be south of Salt Lake, if you want to be a little bit west or east, you go east, you've got like that East Bench area. So you've got the mountains that are right there. So you've got spectacular
mountains
views.
Are steep. Do you get up into those? Do you hike them? Do you mountain bike?
Yeah.
Or are they kind of like, no, they're too steep for that? I was looking at them. I'm like, those are pretty aggressive.
They are pretty
They
aggressive.
look very aggressive.
Yeah.
And you see the houses kind of start to climb the edges a little bit.
Yep. You don't go most people don't
It's not that, it wasn't that high. Yeah.
Yes, you don't go too far up, but you do have spectacular views. There's like a canyon just right outside there, Big and Little Cottonwood Canyon. You've got Alta Ski Resort. You've got snow, but
So you guys have skiing, obviously, Salt Lake City. The Olympics are going to be coming here in like a decade or something.
Yes,
Okay. So you have skiing, we have skiing. We have bogus basing. If you like skiing, that's 40 minutes from downtown Boise. How close is your skiing?
Good question. So it depends on
Where you
you're.
live.
Yeah, it depends on where you're at. But if you're in Sandy, Murray, Cottonwood Heights, Draper, you're 15 minutes from if that even.
So
10,
very,
15 minutes.
very easily and accessible.
Super easily accessible.
Okay. And then what about rivers? You mentioned kayaking.
Yeah.
What's that look like for you? 'Cause
Yeah.
I didn't necessarily see a river as I was getting. I saw the lake.
Yeah.
Right, saw lake, and then I saw the hills, and you
Yeah.
guys are kind of in between.
Yeah, for sure. So Utah has a lot of reservoirs.
Okay.
So you'll see a lot of those reservoirs kind of on the
Did see
Wasatch.
some of those when we were in southern Utah.
Did you?
Yeah,
Okay,
we
yeah.
kind of saw them.
Okay.
A lot of overlanding was happening.
Yep,
ATVs, side by sides were happening all in that area.
for sure. So more on the Wasatch back where you're going to have Park City, you've got the Jordanelle Reservoir, you've got Deer Creek, you've got, different reservoirs in and around there. You keep going to Strawberry, stuff out there too. So a lot of people will use those reservoirs for boating or,
And that's like a mountain pass drive. Am I right? You kind of cut right up from Salt Lake City because we almost drove out there.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. So there's a couple different ways to get to that. But yes, you can
kinda
go right
dip
through
down,
Parley's.
maybe.
Yep. So you go through Parley's Canyon, up and over.
Okay.
From Salt Lake, if you're going from Salt Lake to Park City, which a lot of people do because there's a lot of great skiing in Park City too, you're about 35, 40 minutes from that too. So,
Okay, perfect. So that's water activities. We talked about skiing. What is the pace like? Like you came out of California. I talked to a lot of people who are moving away and they're like, I want a slower pace. There's traffic everywhere. Or if I want to go do something, we touched on this a little bit, but it's like, I want to go do something. Well, it's an hour to the beach, 30 minutes for parking, another 30 minutes to like walk, get your stuff. It's just a whole huge time suck. And they're like, I just want to live somewhere where I could work, play,
yes.
be safe, afford something.
Yes.
So what's your thought on the city traffic kind of vibe of the area?
Yeah. For me, and again, I always say it's about perspective. I think, for me coming from California, I, lived up in Northern California and had Bay Area traffic. I've had San Diego traffic. So me moving to Utah, I'm like, this is unbelievable. Like there's no traffic. I mean, there is traffic, but compared to California traffic, I mean, it just doesn't even compare in my book. So pace of life is so much slower. There's so many different just open fields. There's a lot of horses and cows and things around which, living in San Diego, we didn't see a lot of that. And so for us, again, slower pace of life, quicker to get different areas.
Yeah.
What would you say with Idaho? Would it be? Because I'm thinking. Like,
I thought your traffic was very intense compared to ours. Like it was multiple lanes, like 3. I think I might have a clip of it. When I was there, I grabbed it on my phone. I'm like, I want to show this because it was like 3 on ramps.
Yeah.
Another 6 lanes that you're trying to merge into.
Yes.
And at that time, we were headed towards the aquarium, which was super fun to do with the kids. They love that.
Yep.
But I was, prior to us hitting record, I was like, man, Salt Lake City feels like such a larger city than Boise. And sometimes Boise can Boise's your largest metropolitan area in the state. If that's small to you and you're looking for something bigger, then I would say Salt Lake would be a good option for you. But if you're feeling like Salt Lake is too big, Boise might be a good option for you.
Well, which is super interesting because I recently just talked to a friend who is living in Texas right now. And she's like, I'm actually thinking about either relocating to Boise or to Salt Lake.
Yeah, so I'd be curious what can we share in this video that would help her kind of fine tune that a little bit? Did she say anything that she was looking for?
And this is what was so interesting because she's like, for us, she's like, we kind of want to reset. We don't want those super, super hot summers. And for her,
how are your summers? We have some hot summers, but maybe not compared to her. But we get, what are your summers like?
So we have hot summers, you'll have
so like a couple days over 100?
Yes.
We'll hit a couple days, but we'll live in the 90s.
Okay. Yeah. So, but nights cool down a lot. Yeah, so a lot of people love those cool nights. It stays light really long. But summers get hot, but especially in St. George, you're going to feel like Arizona heat. But her main thing was, we want the 4 seasons. We want kind of a change. We want snow. And then I'm like, but how much snow?
That's another thing we can talk about. That's going to be another decider.
Yes.
So 4 seasons, you're going to get that in Salt Lake City, obviously. You're going to get that in Boise. Let's touch on snow real quick.
Okay.
I'll go first.
Yeah.
All of Idaho gets dumped on with snow, except for 2 areas, really.
Right.
Lewiston and the Treasure Valley. They're kind of in valleys. So I tell people, we get snow, and when it snows, you'll see it in the foothills, and you'll see the snow line, and the city kind of sits right below the snow line. Okay, and then the sun will come out, and it'll melt the snow within 2 to 3 days.
Yep.
And if you're south-facing, then the sun, I don't have to shovel. And if I do, maybe my kids will shovel once or twice. But Salt Lake City, but other areas of Idaho, it's very much like you got to buy a snowblower, you're going to shovel, it's going to be your evening routine, or you got to pay somebody, and then the snow builds up and it lingers in the city and you get big piles of it. So how Salt Lake, I can guess, but how Salt Lake?
Yeah, good question. Honestly, similar to, I think, Boise, it's going to depend on the area that you're in.
Okay.
And the higher up you are in the mountains, the more snow obviously you're going to have just because of the elevation, and it's going to stay a lot longer. You are going to have those snow mounds, but down, in Salt Lake and around, typically you're not like it. Obviously, we get a lot of snow, but it doesn't stick. Same thing. We've got over 200 sunny days a year. So you've got, you'll have a snowy day, and then the next day it's sunny and all the roads are melted, but you'll still have it in and around.
So kind of similar. So it's not like these are Montana winters.
These are not Montana winters. And
so that's kind of a pro.
Yeah.
Somebody, meaning it's not a huge determining factor at that point.
Although I do think Salt Lake gets more snow than
I would imagine. They probably do.
Boise.
But some people just don't want to sign up. Like some people will talk about like Idaho Falls or Montana, and they're like, I just can't commit to the winter, and it's a long winter, and it's just like, yeah, I agree. I think Montana is beautiful. I live there near Flathead Lake, and I'm like, it's lovely. And I remember the winters, and I'm just like, I couldn't, year after year after year, I don't think I could sign up for this.
Yeah, interesting.
So what else was on her list? She said 4 seasons. She was curious about the winter.
4 seasons. She was looking for good schools for the kids.
Okay.
So,
sounds like your kids go to a charter.
Yep.
My kids do private. We have charter options, public options. So lots of options there.
Yep. Same. So for her, it was really important. Schools were important, 4 seasons, figuring out. And she's like, and actually it was funny because as we were talking and kind of determining, she's like, okay, which one snows more? And I said, I think Salt Lake. She's like, great. I think I'm in Boise. Like she was kind of thinking more that direction.
I wonder if she couldn't be happy either though.
But I think she probably
Yeah.
I think they would be happy in both. And they wanted family friendly, and they, just wanted a slower pace of life.
Yeah.
So.
What about home prices? I'd have to look. I think our numbers are right around $500,000 as a median.
Yeah.
Do you know where yours are at? I mean, it could probably vary a little bit, but are we comparable or are we not comparable?
Single family house prices have gone up so much in Salt Lake, but recently, we're hovering right around 565.
So comparable.
Yeah.
So if you'll have options, you could probably find something in either place.
Yeah.
Okay. Let's see. What else would be a factor? I mean, the state of Idaho is, what's the cultural or maybe political kind of feel that you feel there from people, or the kind of people that, what's that like? Because Idaho is really different. I feel like what I've noticed in Idaho, and a reason people want to come, is that, say, a lot of people leave Cali. I find that, let's just say there's, more liberal people and then more conservative. I feel like the more liberal people, if they exit, they're going to places like Oregon, Washington, Portland, Seattle. And then the more conservative, who are typically more on the outskirts, are being like, oh, we can't do California anymore. We want to go to a red state. We're going to go to Idaho. And so I kind of feel like that's our thing. What's Utah attract?
That's a good question. I feel like a lot of clients that I've had that have been coming in from West Coast, East Coast, they're looking for a more conservative place. And a lot of people that, the pulse is, it's more of a red state and more conservative. Yes, there's everything, but I've noticed it is much more conservative than obviously when I was coming from Northern California. Southern California was more conservative of where, the pocket that we were in, but coming over to Utah definitely has been.
And would you say Utah is, and let's say the Salt Lake City area, how is it for newcomers? Yeah. Is it welcoming? Is it a little standoffish? Is it, hey, we didn't grow up here either, let's be friends? What is it like for people kind of starting up new relationships, getting connected? For
sure. And I think, for me,
you went through that.
Yeah. And so I always kind of say your vibe attracts your tribe. So whatever you're into, lean into that, and you're probably going to find your community.
So pretty much everybody should start an Instagram channel, blow up like you did, talk about home decor and beautiful homes. Yeah.
Things that you're interested in, because really what's going to happen, you're going to start meeting people that want to talk about the same things and are going to be interested in that. So for us, when we moved in, like I said, I've got 4 kids. So we're on the soccer field. My kids are playing all different kind of sports and are in different activities. So of course I'm meeting other parents that are super interested in that too. And so we're just making all these connections. My family, we like pickleball too. So of course we like leaned into some different pickleball groups and clubs and stuff like that. And then all of a sudden my kids are meeting other kids that are playing pickleball, and I'm meeting other moms that are playing pickleball. And the next thing we know, we're like, oh my gosh, we found our people and this is so great. So, in terms of Utah does have that culture though and I know a lot of people that have moved in from outside of Utah where they're like, oh, I just don't know if I'm going to fit in because I might not be part of the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints. And there's a big influence.
So that was a beautiful building. Yes. I drove by it.
Yes.
It was lit up. It's under construction right now, which I was really bummed about because I wanted to see it.
Yes.
And that is, I feel like they claim that state, that city.
Yep.
What is that like?
Yep.
You don't have to say that.
Yeah. No, actually I am. So I am a member of the Church of Jesus Christ.
Okay, great. So for you, was that, trying to think how to, okay. What do you see? Do you have friends that have moved there that aren't?
Yes.
What is it like for them?
And actually, so many of my clients have. And originally, I didn't grow up in the church. It was that'll be for another channel, another day, whatever. But one of the things that I noticed that is a lot of my clients that are moving in are looking for more conservative, looking for different things like that. And many of them are faith-based, but some of them are not. But what they have noticed is just the welcoming. And I had one client that had moved in from the East Coast, and cute family, and they show up, their pods show up on moving day, and they literally were like, the whole neighborhood just, came and they're like, how can we help you? Just started like taking things out of their pods, putting them in the house. She's like, next thing I know, there's like a plate of cookies on our doorstep. My kids are over at the neighbor's house playing. She's like, it literally was what I had envisioned moving to Utah. Are all the situations like that? Not, but there are so many stories just like that. Yeah. And same thing, I just had a family that relocated from Huntington Beach, and they moved into a cul-de-sac, and she's like, I feel like we just met all of our best friends. Like, this just feels...
Was it new construction?
Right. It was brand new construction. Yeah. It was brand new construction, and so you've got a lot of people that are moving in from different areas. Yeah. Do you have a lot of new home construction?
So two things about that. So, like, we moved into a neighborhood. So I also relocated to the state of Idaho. My wife's originally from there, but we moved in, and we moved into an established neighborhood because I like mid-century modern. Yeah. So we went for an older house, but, like, we had this old couple on the street, Carl and Nancy, cookies, fresh made jam. Yeah. Like, they brought that to us, and you need a stick of butter, you get a stick of butter from, but it was really welcoming. But a lot of our buyers, what happens is, one pro that this is like a side, like, I see people who move in, they want to start a relationship. It sounds like that happens pretty well in Utah, and it's not a really closed off, standoff community. I would say the same thing happens in Idaho. And the benefit of that too is when you buy new construction, you're typically moving in with other people who are relocating. Yeah. And I had one family where they moved in, they're like, yeah, we had young kids, and we came from California, and the whole neighborhood was literally California with young kids. And so now there's like 30 kids running the street. And so they get like instant plugged in community where if they maybe would have moved into an established neighborhood, maybe it would have been a little bit harder. Yeah. Like, we moved in a neighborhood, which is kind of a downside where all the kids have come and gone 10 years ago. And so we kind of missed that wave. And so there are pros to buying new construction for relationship reasons.
For sure. And actually, it's interesting that you say that too. I'm in my old neighborhood in San Diego, a great couple, they just recently retired. And they're like, we've got kids and grandkids that are out in the Salt Lake area, like Mariah. We just watched you relocate a couple years ago. We think this is going to be the right place for us. And they wanted new home construction too. So I'm like, okay, great. Showed them a couple different areas when they came out, and they went, oh, I think this is it. Recently, about 6 months ago, they ended up closing on their home. Yep. And same thing, like where they moved, they're like, we could not have picked a more, they're like, next to us is Billy, and they moved from, somewhere else in Orange County, and then somebody else moved from Texas. And so it's like you've got
there's a camaraderie built around it. You're all in the trenches together. Yes. You all went through a hard move.
For sure.
And left for positive or negative reasons, depending.
Yeah. She kept saying, should I be feeling, should I be missing San Diego more than I am? And I'm like, I don't know. For me, we still love it.
I was a happy camper to get out of Oregon. That's where we moved from.
Yeah.
So
yeah, we were too. But anyway, I just think a lot of different options, housing, new home construction, all of that, whether you're, whatever season of life you're into.
What about, I know a lot of people move for safety.
Yeah.
I constantly hear that where they live in Texas or Cali or whatever, and they're just like, I go to work and my wife's at home and she doesn't feel safe walking to the mailbox.
Yep.
So it was a conversation I had this week.
Yeah.
Tell me about Utah.
Yes.
On that front. If somebody's saying, hey, is it a safe place? I don't want to move from bad to worse, or I don't want to move from bad to bad. At that point, I'm going to have to make a move again.
Yeah.
I don't want to deal with it. I want my kids to be able to ride their bikes. I don't want to think about it. I want them to come home when it gets dark.
For sure. Perfect example. My 11-year-old daughter has a dog walking business, and she went to the neighbors and she started handing out flyers called Happy Tails, and just started going to neighbors' houses and, you know, leaving a little note on their door and just, hey, if you want your dog walked, like, let me know. I would love to.
How old is your daughter?
11 years old.
My daughter's coming up on 10.
Okay.
I wonder if I love entrepreneurial things. Yeah.
Her experience, so she's had the business now for a year and I want to say 2 or 3 months. She started, phenomenal.
She walking when she comes home from school.
She rocks. So this is what I'm going to, so this is what I was going to say with the whole safety thing. So she will come home from school. She's got her designated dog walking days. She rides her bike over to her, over to the business. Parks the bike outside of the house of her dog walk, wherever she is.
Just leaves it.
Leaves the bike there along with, the other scooters and soccer balls and things that are in Yeah, right? Everything's still there when she gets back from dog walking. And so, I don't know, for me as a parent, safety is a big one. And we lived in a safe neighborhood in San Diego, but I would have never felt comfortable letting my daughter, go down the street and go walk dogs and leave her bike out in front and do that. So for us, safety is a big one, and it feels good. How about for you, where you're at?
It's the same thing. Safety's huge. I mean, Boise, another one is like cleanliness too, and I think these kind of go hand in hand. It's like you don't see graffiti. You struggle to find homeless people. It's just I came from Portland. That city was crumbling a bit.
Yep.
And then coming here, I remember the day we moved to Eagle. We arrived late at night. Yeah. My wife flew. We just had our fourth kid. I drove everything. So we pulled into the house at night, woke up the next morning, and it's just like sunny and beautiful. And the kids and I all went out for a walk and we went to a park, and I didn't have to go clean up the park before I let the kids play. There were not, because parks naturally are a great place for kids and homeless people. It's horrible that it's that way. Yep. But it's just where they would go, or they'd sleep under a bush or whatever. So it takes I would say it takes a while to get used to it. It takes a while to release and be like, am I fine with my kid going out? Like just this last week, we let our kids, walk a couple blocks to the pizza shop. Here's some money. Go get some pizza. Go ahead and bring it back. And my kids loved it. And it's just that thing of like, hey, these me and my wife are reading a book right now. It's called An Anxious Generation.
Oh, I've heard of that.
I heard about it from a lot of people. Okay. And then we're finally we read it on the way down to Utah.
Awesome.
But he's like parents protect their kids too much they underprotect online, overprotect in real life. He's like, you have to release in real life. Otherwise, they're just not going to grow up.
Yeah. And
so then the thing is, okay, well, I want a place where they can grow up safely. I don't want to put them in undue risk, but I also want a place where I can feel comfortable letting them go. And I would say, for us, I mean, I don't lock my doors. Yeah. We just don't. I don't even think I have a house key on my keychain. And that's what, if you would have told me there's a place like that still existed, I'd be like, you're lying. There's no freaking way.
Okay. I love this so much because this just reminded, I had a closing this week for a client that long story short, they are moving to a new area and we get to the end where closing is. And she's like, Mariah, I am so embarrassed to tell you this. I don't even know where a key to the house is.
She's so
She's like, I literally we're going to have to get the whole thing rekeyed because I genuinely, I don't know. I haven't locked the door in, I don't even know how long. Yeah. But, I don't know. One of the things I was just thinking though, when you were talking about safety is same thing. I remember one of the first times we went to the park and one of my kids was like, oh mom, I have to go to the bathroom. And initially I'm like, okay, everybody comes in. And then all of a sudden, I went and I checked it out. I'm like, this is the cleanest, nicest, newest, this bath. The kids walked in and they're like, there's toilet paper. There's not trash all over. It smells clean. It's not. Yeah. It blew my mind. I literally was just like, huh, where are we? And 4 years later, it's exactly the same. Yeah. And I just go, it just feels nice, feels good.
Well, I think we officially probably didn't help you at all deciding whether you should move to Salt Lake City or Boise, Idaho. But if you want to dive deeper into that, you can reach out to me. You can reach out to Mariah. I'll put my contact information here on the video. I'll put hers down below in the description. If you enjoyed this video, then be sure to watch this video next where I talk about the pros and cons of Boise, Idaho.